Welcome to It's Not Top Scallop. G'day, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Christy, and this is a conversation about Top Chef.
It is. And season 22, episode 1, it's here, finally.
So exciting.
Yeah, so excited. I have to be honest, I was like so jazzed for so long, and not because Wisconsin was boring, but it's the only time I'm going to say that, I promise. It just, no, it really genuinely, it made me realize how important Top Chef is in my like seasonal routine, because it wasn't that good. And this one was I was amped for it. I think everyone that I spoke to, everyone, the vibe, you know, the buzz in the air, the huge Top Chef buzz in the air, was that this season was going to be good. And there are a ton of good chefs on it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this season. It looks like the caliber of chef that they have is a bit higher than last season. Not that there weren't some great chefs last season, but I think this season is going to be a lot more exciting.
Right. It's nice. Kristen Kish definitely has the not my first rodeo sort of energy, which is great, because she definitely did have a bit of the this is my first rodeo energy in that season too, which is, again, cool, but it's not that. And so it's time for her to, like, I think, really spread the wings, you know, and get...
I think she wasn't really terribly comfortable last season, but I think now she's really coming into her own, and I think she's going to do a great job.
I still don't understand. I don't know we're in Canada, but that's okay. I'm sure it makes sense. I'm sure it makes sense on someone's someone's got a piece of paper where there's a whole reason why Canada makes sense.
Oh, I know why. Because it's going to become our 51st state.
Maybe that's it. Maybe this is the first inclusion. It's like, actually, yeah, we have to be careful. There might be a tariff on the show. But no, I love Canada. I've actually been there. I'm sure. I don't want to talk about that, actually. I love Canada. The show, though. Kristen Kish. She's back, second year. It's in a great space. The kitchen looks really cool.
And Kristen looks stunning in that intro.
Yep, she looks absolutely super. I like that they didn't fuck around, really. They kind of got straight to it. They have them all straight in there, like grabbing knives. Even old mate says it. He's like, I thought we'd have a bit more chill. Like,
yeah.
They didn't even edit it like that. They just were like, they didn't appear to give them any chill. They're like, right, get in a car with these three. You're like,
they've got their suitcases with them still, and they're already pulling out of the knife block.
Yeah, it's like, this is obviously setting us up for a team challenge. It's like,
yeah. And then they jammed 3 chefs into the backseat of each one of those little things.
Sure.
Get comfortable, make friends real quick.
Then I was a bit awkward with I love the Canadian tuxedo moment. They really didn't. They sort of fumbled it a little bit. It felt like they really wanted to really just telegraph it and be like, we're all doing Canadian tuxedos. It was pretty obvious if you looked at it, if you're the kind of person that's going, oh my God, look at Kristen Kish's outfit. It's like this and it's that. Is that a vest? No, it's not a vest. That's just the top of her pants. What is that? Is that chambray? Yeah, it's like a really light denim. Oh my God, that's amazing. Wait, Tom's wearing like a burly denim shirt. Oh my God, Gail's wearing denim too. Oh my God, they're doing Canadian tuxedos. Oh my God. Like, yeah, if you're not that sort of person, which obviously they're assuming that not everyone is.
Well, David Zilber, as they're walking out of the kitchen, he's like, it just occurred to me that you're all wearing
Canadian tuxedos. It's like, fucking idiot. But yeah, I mean, let's also someone on the spectrum there, and it felt like they were trying to find a way to like pop it in, and they sort of did, but it sort of like, was like
a little awkward.
Yeah, fumbly and awkward. And then the other bird jumpsuit haircut was like, you've got Riz. It's like, oof.
Yeah.
All right. That seemed like either like someone had maybe like forced her to say that, or she was like, I know, I'll drop a freshness bomb on Top Chef.
Well, at least she didn't come out the gate insulting Tom's hat game.
Sure. Has been done before and pretty stupid. Yeah, but apparently big prizes this year. Biggest prizes ever, including like the Delta Sky Miles.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Exciting thing. It's weird. Like, I feel like it's a funny thing. Okay, Top Chef. I was thinking about this. It's not a show like, I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but The Bachelor, a show like that, like you could imagine yourself being on it. and winning the money. That's got to be one of the reasons people are into it. They're like, I could win
Sure.
that money just by
Yeah, it's
being on
about
The
the money.
Bachelor. If
Yeah.
I get chosen, I would be on The Bachelor and I would win that money. And then maybe have like live on the island. You get the island with Survivor, right? Like they just give you the island and say, yeah, you can stay here.
Yeah.
Or The Bachelor, obviously, you then get a husband.
Or a trophy
whatever.
wife.
Trophy wife in The Bachelorette or, yeah. Yeah, Top Chef, it's different. You have to be a chef already. The motivation for the audience is sort of a little bit different around the prizes. I feel like the prizes almost always come a bit second on Top Chef. Sure, Food and Wine magazine, great. Yep, everyone loves that. 250 grand, don't get me wrong. I would totally like that money to be on a TV show, for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Or just for not being on a TV show. If anyone wants to give me that money, I'll take it. Yeah, it's different because they're also getting this sort of made up but super kudos, like you're Top Chef.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's cool. But actually big prizes this year, the biggest they've had ever. Most amount of cash. Most
Well,
amount
it
of
seems
cash.
like every single year they're like bigger, better, more, every year. So, of course, they had to throw in the Sky Miles and the James Beard dinner and, just make it a little bit more, just make it more than it was last year.
I also really like the no quick fire immunity. I think that makes it a better game show game. Because the quickfire immunity just seemed like oftentimes a disconnected thing where if you shot a bunch of arrows up into the air and landed on something that was like perfectly executed in that moment, it was like, oh my God, you won the quickfire. And it's like, cool, you got immunity. And it's like, but it's not connected to the next challenge at all.
Sure. And just winning the quickfire, giving them some small advantage in the elimination challenge. I think that's a good idea because the quickfires are a small challenge in comparison to the elimination challenges.
Yeah, it's a big reward. If you just win the quickfire and then you're like, sick, I don't actually have to work hard in the main part of this part of the show.
Exactly.
Because I know I'm not going home. Whereas you have to win one of them to get one of them, much cooler, much better idea. Makes for much better television. And isn't that what we're all here for? Much better television.
So the quickfire, how did some of these people not realize that this was going to be a team challenge? With the two guys who both grabbed corn. I just don't understand why they wouldn't have thought, hey, we're clearly going to be on a team. Let's get 3 different things.
See, I feel you, but I also feel that I feel like both of those dudes, I get the vibes from them that they might be, corn was a good idea.
Sure.
Sort of people, and they're like focused on what they could do with corn.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got it and didn't think what you're thinking, obviously.
Sure.
I'll maximize my capacity to maybe be versatile by myself and with others, and you're getting corn. I wonder if I should get something else. Yeah, exactly. But nah, I feel you.
Yeah.
It was a bit it's a lot. I know they said it. Old mate actually says it in a beautiful way. He's like a bit bold off the rip to go and grab maple syrup.
That's awesome. I love that
he
did that.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You're like, oh, I'm in Canada and I instantly thought maple syrup. And then before I knew it, it was in my hand. Yeah. Totally. We've all had that maple syrup moment like that.
Heck yeah. What would you have grabbed?
What would I have grabbed?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that I might also have gone for the maple syrup, but on a tray of veggies, given that there was corn and all of those different things, I actually might have set myself up for the cabbage.
Okay, yeah.
Because I also really like cabbage, and there are also a ton of different things you can do with it, and you can feature it by itself, and it can work with a bunch of other things, and yeah, you can do it quickly, you can do it slowly. I like cabbage a lot, even though I think they definitely setting her up on the edit as potentially a potato girl.
No, I think it's just the Russian thing.
But definitely with a side of Russian, possibly with a Russian outsider. I know she feels she has to justify the Ukraine war at some point in the show, which is a little bit, it's a real hard thing to do. She's like, I don't live there, but I sort of am Russian. Please don't hate me because of the war that I'm not involved in. It's like, oh, yeah, sure. That's a lot of a thing to have to sort of walk around with. I'm glad I don't.
Yeah. I mean, she's Russian. She grew up in Russia, but she's been in the U.S. for a very long time now. So, it's
just opened a Russian restaurant, though.
It actually just closed.
Just closed. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Opened. But yeah, right. She definitely has the I know how to cook Russian food really well sort of thing, which is sick because a ton of Russian food, I think, is probably more interesting than we all think.
Yeah. I would have gone for mushrooms.
Sure, smart. But
I love mushrooms, and I think that they're so versatile.
Yeah, yeah. And you can kind of do whatever you're thinking. If you like, oh, I was thinking mushrooms, and then you get there and there's only like those big pine mushrooms, the big orange ones. I think they actually feature a bit later on in the episode.
Chicken of the wood.
Hen of the woods, something like that. Chicken of the woods, whatever. Yeah, like those guys. Or you get just like the brown supermarket mushrooms, like
just the regular button mushrooms.
Regular creminis or whatever.
They do soak up a lot of flavor too. So, that's almost kind of like tofu in that way. They can be a good meat substitute as well. So,
yeah, mushrooms probably smarter than cabbage because, again, I know we sort of already smashed ahead, but like then you get tomatoes, clams, and chives.
Well, I think that those 3 ingredients will fit into a lot of different things. So they gave them something that they can make work instead of making the challenge ridiculously challenging for the first one.
Mushrooms, chives, tomato, clams, did that nice would be fucking super. And you could bash that out really quickly.
Yeah, I probably would have taken mushrooms and cooked them in quite a bit of garlic butter, almost because I've had escargot a couple of times, and with a lot of garlic butter, escargot reminds me very much of mushrooms.
Sure.
I think that would be good with the clams, and maybe make like a tomato water, do the clams and the mushrooms, and then garnish with like a chive oil or something.
Yep, that all sounds pretty sick. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want that. But you could definitely do that quick, and I reckon you could make that as fancy as you like, and that would come out really good.
What's your opinion of the apple?
I think the apple is really fucking gimmicky. I also think it's really fucking lame. But if Tom Colicchio goes, oh, that's cool, and he does, and you can't not hear it on the show. Right. If Tom Colicchio goes, no, that's cool, when he lifts it up, or at least when he sits down or whatever, okay, for real, he even says when you scrape the bottom of the apple, you get a fresh apple in the soup. I'm like, bullshit. In order to get fresh apple scraped off the bottom of a Granny Smith, you have to dig the fuck out of that. You're not, it's not a casual, it's not like a gentle scraping over the surface to
Yeah.
release some refined apple essence. He's talking about digging up apple from the bottom of the apple without spilling soup all over you. I call bullshit on that happening at all.
Well, and I wonder how much smoke flavor was really imparted into it by putting the smoke and then putting the top of the apple on.
I dare say none, but I don't know if you noticed when he did pop the top off of it, there wasn't any smoke. It didn't do like a billow of smoke. So I don't know if they didn't get that much in there, or I don't know if it all absorbed into the apple skin or something. Who knows? But yeah, I was like, she's right. Lana, is it Lana? Yeah. Yes. Is there with the eye makeup as well, and just the apple skin Mickey. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you for sure. And then the other girl, Ecuadorian girl, is the same thing. She's like, there's some controversy over the apple. Yes, because the apple is stupid, but you also have to say it was well executed. In terms of carb, at least it wasn't a bread bowl.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
The
elimination challenge.
Okay, thank you. God damn. And I'm going to also just do a little sidebar and talk to you about the alcohol and Top Chef, something that I noticed when they did the in between the quickfire and the...
They were actually showing the chefs in their home this time.
Sure.
And they haven't done that the last couple of seasons. So it's, I like getting the chef interactions with each other, the more personal stuff. I know that that's not what it's about. It's about the food, but I like getting to know the chefs, and, seeing them interact with each other does give you more of an idea of who they are as people.
Yeah, again, we don't want it to be a Big Brother sort of show, but if it's Big Brother adjacent and it has some of the flavors, then it's still a tasty human game show, So yeah, I'm with you. It's nice to see them in the thing, and as they're all cheering, as they're all cheering, the hey, we're all here, no one's gone home yet moment.
Yeah, this is the last time we'll all be together.
Yeah, morbid, but still, fuck it, it's a race. Whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of drinks. Some years they're really not on the drinking, and some years they are. And this year there's like plenty of drinks, but also there's like maybe 1/3 Saratoga bottles when they're like up on the cheers. And so I wonder if that means, you know, quite a few sober chefs, because it's always an interesting dichotomy between the sober chefs and the non-sober chefs.
Sure.
And I think it's worth almost following that as a thread if there's like, oh, that guy doesn't drink at all. So definitely keep an eye on them because of the, you know, I think some years you get them and that you could see them deteriorating from the fact that they've been drinking
the
whole time.
Yeah. It's funny to me that you noticed that because you're sober.
Yes.
I did not notice that because I am currently sober, but I don't live a sober life.
But philosophically not.
No.
Philosophically, most definitely not. No, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and it does obviously parallel with some of the other work in my life to sort of look at things that way. But it just was interesting. You know, again, editing makes a huge difference on how things get portrayed, in what narrative the story goes.
Sure.
But what I did love, so we finished the quick fire, blah, blah, blah. Tom's jazzed, and that's got me jazzed. Gail's jazzed because she is in Toronto, and that's got me jazzed. Kay Kish jazzed because this is her second season. So that's what's got me jazzed. I think
they're also excited.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I think it's going to be good. Tom's like not getting grumpy. Yeah.
You know, I know that the Canada thing is just slightly odd for an American show, but I do kind of like it because I'm getting to know more about Canada. You know, I've been to Niagara a couple of times. I've been to Vancouver once. I've been all the way up to Ottawa. So I've been to Canada a few times, but I don't know enough about like the geography and the, you know, the different regions. So I did really like that this elimination challenge was about, you know, the 5 different regions of the country. And, you know,
it's like you didn't have to go to school. You didn't have to do any of the geography. You didn't have to do any of that. Just like, here we go. Top Chef is actually solving global problems. 5 regions of, was it 5 regions of Canada? 6 or how many? 4?
5.
5. Thank you. Yeah, obviously I'm not a good student either way. Yeah, 5 regions of Canada. But for real, like, I'm kind of with you. Like, I know I've been to Vancouver. It was cool. It was cool as shit.
So the 5 regions, they did Western, Prairie, Central, Atlantic, and Northern. Which pantry do you think you would have chosen?
So we've got the West Coast, Pacific Salmon, West Coast, Pacific Salmon, Salt Spring Island lamb, red fife wheat, foraged mushrooms, hazelnuts, and plums. To be honest, that sounds fucking super. Canadian Prairies region, ribeye, walleye. So that's 2 different kinds of eye.
Proteins.
Eye proteins, yeah. Ribeye, walleye, red lentil eye, sour cherries, tomatoes, and cold pressed canola oil. Yeah, sure. Canola, whatever. No one really cares about that. But I mean, obviously they sell a fuck ton of it. Central Canada, you got the trout, rainbow trout, peaches, corn, ice wine. Like, that's cool. I don't know how that fits in there, really. I feel like that's a bit of a shoehorn, but whatever. Pea shoots and pork. If you choose the pork there over the rainbow trout, I think you're stupid, but whatever. That's what that girl does when she goes home. Atlantic Canada, cod, dulse seaweed, dulce. It's like that big, thick, leathery red guy that like is chewy. Potatoes, snow crab, blueberries, and screech rum. So cool.
Yeah.
Northern Canada gets beets, carrots, crowberries, turbot, Arctic char, and oats. Empetrum nigrum, crowberry, black crowberry, or mossberry, is a flowering plant species in the heather family in the Northern Hemisphere.
Interesting.
Okay, so it's some sort of bushberry that she can eat. I wonder if that's nice or if it's really just fucking horrible that they put it in there.
Anything is possible.
I bet it is. I'd be like, yeah, crowberries. Oh, yeah. We all eat up here. You should have more crowberries. Have more crowberries, mate. Like, these are horrible. What would I choose out of those if I could choose one? I don't like freshwater fish, so I wouldn't choose that one. But I fucking love lamb. I would probably choose the lamb one and try and do the lamb. With foraged mushrooms, hazelnuts, and plums, and you have lamb, and you can use those other 3 things, man, you should make something incredible. And I'm a bit disappointed that Ecuador did not
do something
make...
more exciting.
But you know, we can get to that. Yeah. What about you? Which one would you choose?
So I would choose Central, and I would choose the pork.
Wow, well, I really fucking teed myself up for that. You're a fucking idiot. Anyone who chews a pork's a fucking idiot. Cool, already. Okay.
Nah. I was thinking like maybe like a stuffed pork loin with like maybe peaches, shallots, the corn. I just think that would be an interesting combination of flavors.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
And you just got to be careful not to overcook the pork.
It also doesn't say, it says and pork. Like that just means pig. Like there's all sorts of cuts you might be able to get out of that. So yeah.
Sure.
Looking at it again, I do love the sound of the Atlantic as well, because like you could just make like a deep like a fish and chips, cod, potatoes with like a seaweed snow crab type sauce, and that would be insanely good if you got that right. Imagine that would be bold as shit to pull that off, just to be like, yeah, I made like fish and chips. Yeah, that would be. But no one does that. They do a couple different
Massimo's
things.
Is kind of a fish and chips. He does fish with the potato scales on it.
It's kind of fish and chips. Yes, it is kind of fish and chips. Yeah, in the way that a Honda Odyssey is a race car, sort of, maybe. But right. Okay, so the West region, and they had Pacific salmon, Spring Island lamb, red fife wheat. I don't think anyone used the wheat. Forage mushrooms, hazelnuts, and plums.
So Lana's dish sounded really good, and man, those mushrooms looked amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely into it. Paula is the Ecuadorian one?
Yes, Ecuadorian, but she's currently in Kentucky.
So
she wanted to kind of marry Ecuadorian and Appalachian cuisine.
Love that. Unfortunately, she falls into the trap of the classic Top Chef lamb fuck up.
Yes.
And I love the little thing that she's got in her hair. It's beautiful and cool. It's like, it gives her like really some great flair in the kitchen, as I think Lana says to her. But unfortunately, it does not give her the capacity to cook lamb.
No, it does not.
On the grill. That seems to be another thing that, you know, maybe you shouldn't do in Top Chef. It's pretty rare that someone wins with grilled lamb cutlets. So often I think they lose with grilled lamb cutlets because they fucked them up. And like I said, I have a feeling that our friend Paula may have fallen into that same trap. I don't get I feel like they don't give us a really deep Lana journey as we're going through this cooking process. I'm just going through and I'm trying to find most of my notes, and they don't really have much for her.
They don't.
She goes from like to just serving it pretty quickly. Vinny, obviously, they give him a bit of a journey. I like that they give him the liquid nitrogen thing, and he does all that, and you're expecting him to say some sort of fancy, it's a liquid nitrogen something, 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 but he's using it to cool the consommé down quicker so that he can clarify it quicker, which I think is
really smart.
Awesome. It's like using liquid nitrogen for like, not for its own sake technique, but for it allows me to perform another technique in this space of time.
Yeah, like, it's not about technique, and it's not about making ice cream or snow or whatever.
Exactly. Oh, it's like doing regular classic French cooking quicker. I love that. Which is sorry, I have to like hand it to him, and he does have that sort of Steve Buscemi, am I a serial killer sort of vibe about him.
It's so funny to me that you say that, simply because I found a meme that is the glasses that you're wearing.
Sure.
And it was like serial killers see these glasses and they're like, yo.
It's a fact. I mean, not that I'm a serial killer. Obviously, I'm not a serial killer. I'm a nice guy. But no, I feel what you're saying. Yeah, he's definitely got like intensity. Is he a really nice guy? Is he a psycho? You can never really tell. The apple bowl thing is like a massive red flag. It's like anyone who would do that is like, are you that sort of a person?
Yeah, it's a little strange, but I don't know. The miso hazelnut butter sounds really, really good. And I liked the presentation. It was really simple and understated.
Yeah, I think that's what comes through. It's like that right from the judging, that's what I think they got out of it, is exactly that it was sort of simple and classic and really well put together, but layered, and all of the things that you want from like really great restaurant food is where you're like, fuck, this is perfect. This whole bite put together is perfect.
Yes.
So yeah, obviously he smashed that out of the park, which you've got to give him credit for that. And I I don't think they like really telegraph that hard in the editing. I feel like they definitely telegraph Paula's lamb fuck up hard.
Mm.
They give Anya still the rush in the next. So then we're going on to the North region, which was Anya, Bailey, and am I going to say it wrong? Zubair.
Did they go into North next?
I don't know if that's where they went next, but that's what I have next on my list.
Okay.
And
next they went into the Prairie region.
Okay, prairies it was, which was ribeye, walleye, lentils, sour cherries, tomatoes, and cold pressed oil. And that was corn, Henry, and Kat.
Poor Kat, her hands were shaking so badly while she was trying to plate.
Again, she's fallen into an even deeper trap. Poor Kat was in the trap from the beginning. She's in the I'm a high pressure home cook edit trap. Like, to escape from that, it's like you have to time shift.
It's hard to go from being a personal chef in a really fabulous kitchen where you can possibly be the only person in that kitchen to go to working on a line with 14 other chefs.
Yeah. And like, is Billy Corgan going to fire you if you're 10 seconds too late? Probably not.
No.
So, Yeah, like,
you don't have somebody working, expo screaming at you to get the food up.
No. And she was shaking. She was all over the place. And again, excuse me, like she makes a big point. Like she comes from I don't know if you remember it from last season, the Door County kerosene fish place.
Yes.
And even she, I think, is like, yeah, I come from there. That's my jam. But yeah, she just completely, she
should have stopped fucking around with the smoke and concentrated on the other parts of her dish, because I think that if she had realized, okay, this isn't working, I'm just going to scrap it and move to the next thing that I can get done. I think that would have made a difference for her.
1,000%. And that's time pressure. That's obviously what being on a TV game show does anyway. And, again, sure, if she'd been in the kitchen, hardcore maybe, but, you never know. That sort of pressure is I don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
But jumpsuit game, the Vermilion Dickies. Oh, damn, that's such a good jumpsuit with the hair, with like the sharp hair. And the Dickies has kind of like a sharp, deep collar because it is like a do everything kind of weld in it sort of jumpsuit. Whereas the other jumpsuit that Lana was wearing, less of a like riveting sort of jumpsuit and more of a enjoying the afternoon sort of a jumpsuit.
Sure. Less utilitarian.
Different jumpsuits, totally different jumpsuits. And, they, I'm sure, could do like a full swap and both jumpsuits would work. But yeah, in this case, the Vermilion jumpsuit was no help for Kat.
Corwin did grilled ribeye and it was cooked. It looked like it was cooked a beautiful temperature. But the sauce that he put on his plate and served it over, I didn't care for the color of it. It's just kind of, it didn't do much for me. It
was weird vibes. And I think Tom, even in the judging, Tom said that it was disjointed.
Yes. Yeah.
And it did. It seemed, again, it was one of those things where it's like, man, you have to like, from the first episode, if you go home for that, then the standard is super high.
Yes.
Which obviously he didn't go home for it. It just was like a lost in the wilderness of nowhere sort of dish. That was like a bit boring, but not terrible. But
and
Henry's,
at least he got everything on the plate.
Yes. Yeah. Which is like rookie first. It's a classic first episode, send you home sort of thing. And that's, but Henry's thing with the with the cracker, the lentil cracker, that's one of those things where if you get all of those things right, the way that gets described, the way that gets sold through.
Well, and such a cool way to incorporate lentil into the dish. That's not something that would have ever occurred to me.
No.
So
but
I
now
love
I'll probably
the fact
try it.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I like lentils. My husband's not that big of a fan. I do have some lentils in my pantry, so maybe I'll try something like that. I just thought that was a really neat idea and a beautiful accompaniment to a tartare.
Transport yourself to the prairie region of Yeah, exactly. And the tartare, it's funny, she's like, what's her name? Nicole Gomes.
Yes.
She's like she says a couple of ripper things in the judging. And one of the things she says in that Canadian accent, and if I do a Canadian accent, please don't hate me, Canadia, or anyone else. But she's like, It's like, she's like, I wouldn't have used the ribeye for that. You know, she's like, but it's a juicy tartare. It's like, yeah, it's like a really juicy kind of steak. I'm like, that sounds good. I kind of want that. And like with a weird lentil cracker. Again, it sounds like a really classic dish. It's a basic steak tartare that sounds really, really good. And he actually says he loves getting to the flavors that other people don't. Like, okay.
Yeah. And the idea of, the egg yolk custard just sounds amazing. I mean, like, you can do a tartare. Everybody does tartares on this show at some point, but nobody's ever done an egg yolk custard instead of yolk on the tartare. Sure. Yeah. So really cool idea.
Yep. And again, not specifical to the Canadia or even really the northern region, but it happens to be. So he's managed to smash it with all of the ingredients as well. Like I
want to eat that.
I do also would definitely also eat that. What was next? What
Central
came next?
Region.
Central, which was Cesar, Katiana, and Mimi, rainbow trout, peaches, corn, ice wine, pea shoots, and pork for idiots.
Those cute little fish packets, they were adorable.
So adorable. And
everybody at the table loved them.
So adorable. And I've tried to make an papillote a couple of times and fucked it up royally and just had like a slimy mess. And I've ordered it at a restaurant and it'd been fucking amazing at this one restaurant in London, and ordered it at a restaurant and it'd been just terrible, just so thin and wet and bad and not what I want at all. And so I'm like a bit on the papillote because Tom even said that he's like, you can't see it. So it's actually a bit of a risk because that fish can be so undercooked if you haven't done it right. And then you end up with like a raw, well, I mean, at least with the rainbow trout, it might be okay, but still not like a mostly raw trout, or even worse, you overcook it and it gets that dryness that only something that's been over steamed, like a fish that's been over steamed.
Yeah.
Somehow ironically gets extra dry. And it's just like, I don't want that.
Yeah. 100%.
Also, it's in a puddle of wetness. So it's like, no. Anyway, so it could be really great though. It could be perfect. It's a steamy little pillow of joy. And obviously in this case, it came out. They all fussed over it. Even Tom was like, yeah. So
and then poor Mimi with her nasty gummy potatoes.
Girl had the edit from the beginning. Again, she had the full edit from the beginning of failure. I feel like it started off with the sob story, the pots and pans story, and I feel like it went downhill from there for her. They just, I don't think they edited her into failure, but to leave those potatoes on, that's the gummy potatoes. It's just the worst thing because mashed potatoes, again, so simple, so good, so perfect. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's so bad. And if it's good, it's really good. And she just was on that fine line between absolutely terrible and really good.
I would have tried to find a way to pivot and do something else. Because, gummy mashed potatoes. Hers was the potatoes, the pork chops that she overcooked and underbrined. And then what else did she have on the plate?
Potato puree with corn, beurre monté, and peach relish. So she could have dipped on those potatoes because she still had the corn, beurre monté, and a peach relish still within the central Canadia.
Yeah.
And she could have grabbed a fucking handful of pea shoots and gone, you know what? I'm a top chef. This is the worst pork I have ever made. I'm dipping on the pork. I'm going to grab a handful of pea shoots and just pivot into make the beurre monté, the corn sauce and the peach relish just sing with make
those the stars of the plate instead of that nasty gummy
and have
potato.
time and attention to fuck with the pork properly.
Yeah.
Which
agreed.
Also, okay, sure, it was underbrined. Yeah, you don't need to brine a pork chop for it to be cooked properly.
No, you just need to not overcook it.
You just need to cook it properly. Yeah, it's much easier if it's been brined.
Yeah.
And you get a different texture, but you don't. Like, if she had 8 minutes to brine it, she had 8 minutes to salt the outside and leave it alone,
Yeah.
Or whatever, and cook it properly. And if she hadn't been fucking around with the classic thing where she's like, turning the whatever you call that machine, the automatic potato mashing machine, just turning it around, and you can see just this bluey sludge coming out the bottom, and you're like, oh, you poor thing. Like, I know what's happening here because it's gross.
Food mill.
A food mill? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Katiana made the katsu with the corn and then the peach kimchi. I want to try that.
I feel like, to be honest, again, it came out in somewhere in the mid, at least as far as the editing goes. They didn't give us much of her journey of making it. They gave us a bit at some point in the conversation about her whole Korean American but disconnected from her Koreanness thing, which I'm adopted. So that's kind of like I'm obviously not Korean American, but I'm adopted and disconnected sort of like that from my heritage in a way. And it's like an interesting story that I can relate to. So it's a thing, but it's kind of a cool story to be like, I didn't grow up with any of the food of my heritage, but now I'm exploring it in my culinary career with my Korean husband. Like that's it's a cool story. Katiana. Yeah.
The katsu with the peach curry with the peach kimchi.
How are you being if you're, again, it's such a sad montage for Mimi. That's what I felt like when I'm reminded by this, like bookended by it looks like bad food, and you've got the happy odd that's making everybody go, oh my goodness. You got then the old girl just drops casually, yeah, I just made like a quick Korean peach kimchi.
Yeah.
Just like that. Just bash that out for you. Like, okay, that's amazing. I want that. I want to know, like, that's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? How do I have it?
Yeah. And then you've got Mimi with her gummy potatoes.
The gummy potatoes that are just like, yeah, how do you feel about it? But the gravy, I'm not sure what the gravy idea was once they get to the judging part of it. Like, they're talking about the gravy wasn't there, the gravy wasn't something. I was surprised that this dish didn't get more jazz than it got. The tonkotsu dish, they seemed a little confused by the corn gravy aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But on the sound of it, it sounds super good. Yeah. Okay, what happened after that?
So it's very embarrassing for Mimi, I think, because Kristen said that she did not enjoy anything on the plate. David Zilber said it looked like it was elevated hospital food, which, good God.
We wrote down the same things, obviously. Yeah.
And then Tom, nothing works because nothing is cooked right, and now I'm grumpy.
Cooked right. Yeah. Damn, they really set that up. I mean, I don't know if they set it up for the first episode, but they did. Tom gets to do like, I'm not grumpy, so everything's great. And then he's like, now I'm grumpy, Tom. Something's shit. And it's like, right, well, fuck. Yeah, a poor attempt. Something has obviously gone wrong. Well, definitely now there's two on the bottom. So you've got old Cut Mrs. Fish Cat, and now we've got Mrs. Pretty Much Everything, including the pots and pans, Mimi.
Yes.
Yeah, and then from there, did we go? What's the region we go to next after her?
Next, they went to the Atlantic region.
Right.
So that was Tristan and Shui. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. And
neither.
The very loud Massimo.
Big old Massimo. Yeah, and I think is it Tristan that they go straight into and he comes up with no fucking curry? And you're like, oh, bro.
But he said when they asked him where the curry was, because it was on the menu, I love that he was able to say, I just wasn't going to get it on there on time nicely.
Yeah.
Rather than I ran out of time, he made it seem like, I didn't want to just, slurp it on the plate, So
someone did fully call him on it though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, Tom called him on it.
It was Tom. It was like, right. So he ran out of time. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But honestly, they liked the dish so much. And I think somebody said, maybe the curry would have been too much.
For real. I feel that straight up.
Happy accident.
Yeah. And it's funny because I definitely wrote that when he was talking about it at first. Like, he's like, all these flavors are all really comfortable with me. We just do them in a curry. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I know what you're saying. But a big old Jamaican, big old Caribbean curry, like that can be really bright and really powerful and really curry forward and with like rice and peas. And it's like, yes, please. But it's still really curry forward.
It might have been too much on the delicacy, how delicate the crab is and the cod is. So I do agree it probably would have overpowered it.
So happy accident for old Trizzy there.
Yes.
Yeah, can't argue at all with that. And then Shui, is that Shui? I'm not sure. Yep, Shui. What did he do again?
Everybody seemed to really like his dish. He had that egg drop crab sauce.
That's
Yes, the braised daikon and the fish.
yeah. Again, it was sort of a little bit okay. Like when they were going through the journey and even the conversation about it, I was like, right, it sounds cool, but not it sort of a little bit. It was like steamed. If I remember, it was like steamed fish with the braised daikon. It's sort of all a bit soft. And even Tom said, he's like, well, it goes to show that not all the textures have to be crunchy. It's like, right, so it's kind of a bit of like a mush vibe, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And then it was so funny when they got to Massimo and he like blew them away with how loud he was.
Hey, Massimo. I'm like, oh, bro.
I have a shirt that I wore. My dad's side of the family is Italian. So I bought this shirt that I wore to a big family dinner one night. And it says, I'm not yelling, I'm speaking Italian.
Nice. I love that.
Because we are just a loud people.
Love that. Yeah. And obviously I'm like, a part of me thinks that maybe he's been standing in front of the mirror like every morning for the last 3 years going, okay, Massimo, today's the day. And just like really pumping himself up for this experience. Or if he just is naturally like that. And
I think he's just naturally like that.
Like they do foreshadow a bit later on where he's like, oh, I got a bit of an ego. Like, right, so maybe you're an asshole too.
I never would have guessed that he might have a bit of an ego.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. So we were still kind of talking about Massimo and his big voice.
Yeah, he's definitely the big voice character.
Yeah. And he made like a very classic dish, you know. They all liked it, but Tom felt like the fish could have been cooked just a little bit better.
Yeah, and I can't recall like they were saying that more to like differentiate between no clear winner for that group necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like the other ones are pretty clear, whereas like it's this dish for me.
Yeah, but
the lentil cracker, for example, all of them were like, it's that one for sure.
Yeah, but this was the one that Nicole cleaned her plate of Tristan's dish, and they all did talk about how much they liked Tristan's dish. Yeah, maybe not an in-your-face clear winner, but yeah. And then they moved on to the northern region, which was Anya, our Russian friend, Bailey, carrot fucking risotto, and we will talk about that in just a second. And Zubi McGee, who makes, I can't remember what he makes, but I remember it being like a bit nothing. Am I right about that? They didn't really talk too much about what he made. Yeah, I'm not really sure what he made. I didn't take very good notes on it because I don't feel like they talked about it very much.
Because I think it might have been one of those under the radar. I think it was one of those under the radar dishes where I was like, it was this, but it wasn't that good. I can't even look it up.
I was just kind of middling, but then we had Bailey's weird carrot risotto.
Let's not put it off any further.
Why the hell would she put beets on top of that? It's so weird.
The whole thing was stupid. Just like, oh, it's the land of the midnight sun in the north. So what I'm going to do is juice some carrots. I'll make a carrot risotto. And then she goes through this whole thing about Sarah G and Sarah Grunenberg having taught her everything she knows about Italian cuisine because she's at this restaurant that's the best Italian restaurant in Chicago. And even the other boy at one point in the show is like, hey, you're from that restaurant, Samalente, baby. You're all right. It's like, fuck. So like, she's got that thing. She's got this whole fucking shtick.
I'm fairly certain that Sarah probably just bullied her into saying that.
No, I did read apparently, and again, she came across as such a nasty person in her TV show. But my understanding is that she has perhaps mellowed out a lot. Can't have done her career any favors coming out.
I'm glad to
season.
hear that. I mean, everybody can grow.
Sure. But you poor girl, and I don't know, I really like this person. They come across as like, are they either? They're like some version of 3 overlapping circles, this person. They're like either sweet and nerdy as fuck and like, we'll cuddle with you and watch Star Trek. Or they're a jiu-jitsu badass that will also armbar the shit out of you until you're tapping or being put to sleep. Or some sort of overlapping circle and or some sort of OnlyFans millionaire. Because it's like, are they dreads? Are they not? I've got like, where in that do you sort of live? And I can't quite work out where she lives in that. And I like all potential possible outcomes are like excellent and sexy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would not mind cuddling and watching Star Trek with her.
Sure. She's got that real Chicago-y accent, which I like. I won't lie, I do like that Midwest accent on a person. I find it's like kind of like a weird sexy, almost like a guilty sexy. Like, it shouldn't be sexy, but it is.
Well, and then we had Anya and her soup, which everyone really liked. It didn't look terribly appetizing, but
Nah. And again, they kind of almost set her up with like, she almost was the flip because they set her up as make Russian food. And it's like, she's going to mess it up. She's like, it reminded me of the Russian cuisine that we have in the north of where I'm like, of course, because it's like drawn in a circle, the Arctic Circle.
yeah, there's only a few things that, you know,
What else are you going to cook
grow
up
and
there?
live there.
Right. Yeah. Russia, Canada, at that point, they're all fucking neighbors. So yeah, but sounds like she did something pretty classic. The only problem was the crispy cracker.
Just a little overly crunchy.
Yeah. But again, like, you got to hand it to Vinny. I feel like at least the edit comes true. Like, I didn't watch that show, that episode, and go, wow, I'm surprised about that winner for any number of reasons. Like, sometimes it's because they're so unlikable that you're like, wow, it's such a shame that they're good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it's because they're really likable, but maybe not that good at it.
And he's somewhere in the middle as far as the likability.
Sure,
we just don't know enough about him yet. He hasn't been a clear asshole. He hasn't been a clear, you know, angel. So that's why I say he's in the middle as far as likability goes.
Yeah, he's got that, could definitely blossom into a petulant, shouty shitbag, because that's what it's like to live with the three brothers, Vinny Vincenzo's three brothers, you know. He definitely obviously can cook. It, like I said, I kind of am already a little bit intrigued by his capacity to do things that almost seem like a bit classic in the way that you could describe them. Like the thing that he does, okay, he doesn't do an apple, a second carved piece of, you know, he doesn't serve his salmon in a carved piece of fruit. Fair. Like that. I'm like, bro, what are you thinking? Seriously, for real. But the salmon dish that he does, it's pretty simple. It's pretty classic. It's necessarily pushing the boat out hard. It's just, it sounds like what he did is squeezed all of the techniques into it in a really sort of clever modern way. And that's, you know, that's pretty great.
Yeah. I would definitely eat that dish and probably be very happy about it.
And just the same, I think, like, okay, so you could argue maybe Kat should go home because
she didn't get everything on the plate.
She didn't actually finish the challenge. And obviously Paula...
But the food that she cooked and the food that she got on the plate tasted better than anything that Mimi made.
Right. And Kristen was like, look, I've shared my fish with my girl here. Because obviously I wanted to taste it. And it wasn't terrible. It wasn't amazing. But like, if she'd managed to not do that, she wouldn't have been on the bottom. She would have been in the middle there with the other old boys, Stick and Zubair, and those guys that like were sort of like, yeah, not going to actually win. But yeah, she just wasn't because she missed out a technicality. Same Paula. Paula obviously dodged a bullet for the lamb snafu, which again, at one point in the narrative looked like that could be her. She made a lamb type mistake that sends you home. Yeah. But she skated by. Cool. It's the first episode. You can make those mistakes and keep going if you're lucky. If someone like poor Mimi just gets the downward spiral arc right from the beginning, it wasn't anything. It just, she goes to gummy potatoes and she can't pivot, and then she fucks up the pork, and then the whole thing's just like, bleh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sad. Bye. Good night.
It's interesting how they did judges table this time. It was different from like any other time. You know, they call everybody in. They take the top 5, talk about their meals and what was good. Vinny's the winner. Go Vinny. And then they pull Mimi and Kat. You know, they name all 5 of the ones that were on the bottom, but they're like, we only really need to talk to Mimi and Kat. And then they don't even like have a conversation in front of us, the audience. They're just like, all right, Mimi, pack your knives.
It's you, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And normally we can normally see the discussion that the judges are having at judges' table. So it was interesting that they did things a little differently.
I noticed that missing from the Wisconsin season as well a couple of times, and it's always one of the things that I've liked. Like, there's one, I can't remember what season it even is, but they're at judges' table, and I don't know if they still do it, but they used to apparently do the rule that they had to have a unanimous decision. That was one of the rules of the show, is that no matter what, they all had to be in agreement.
I don't remember that.
It could never be a two versus one. They had to reach a unanimous decision before they sent someone home. And so they would film the show until fucking 2 a.m., 3 a.m., until they had argued it out. And there's quite a few, and they may have changed it, because there's quite a few judges' tables where they're giving the verdict, and like Padma or Gail are looking like they've been hit by a train. And they're just like, it's like, you can see it's 3 a.m. and they've been drinking wine. They're trying to escape that, like, I'm drinking enough wine to stay activated in this conversation that's going around in circles, but not so much that I fall over.
Well, when they used to do the reunion shows after the finale, I think one of my favorite parts was not only the hijinks in the stew room, but also the ridiculous things that happen at judges' table that they didn't show us. I just really, really loved both of those things in the reunion shows.
Great, because you get a lot more situations where the chefs are waiting in those situations too, because they have to wait there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the stew room also getting liquored up. Yeah, most likely.
Well, and the stew rooms have gotten so much nicer over the years.
Right. Again, it's going away from that, like, Big Brother meets restaurant meets, whatever, like not restaurant, whatever the Gordon Ramsay one is, Restaurant Rescue or whatever, meets that sort of vibe. And like where you would hang out, the vibe was sort of, you almost wanted it to feel like you were hanging out in the pantry of a restaurant, while they're all waiting around for the verdict. And they've kind of made this sort of branding of the show go away from that sort of feel a little bit, I think, which is kind of trying to do the nicer aspects of it. And I wonder if maybe they've taken that concept away because they do just sit up and drink all night, which means they get a shit performance out of them the next day. It's harder to film everybody the next day, so maybe they're just doing it differently and they've decided that it's not a unanimous decision, or maybe so far the unanimous decisions have been easy to make. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I like having that, but we'll see if that goes anywhere. And there we are. So Vinny has the thing for next week. And I don't feel good so far about the storylines, the people that we're getting introduced to. At the end of the show, we get the foreshadowing for Massimo being an asshole again, which is like interesting close. So maybe that's going to be a whole thing. Hopefully, like, they're advertising it so it's not cringy.
That's going to be cringy anyway.
You think it's going to be cringy anyway? Okay. Yeah. Right. I do want to see more of Lana because she seems just like a cool person.
Yeah.
Like, I like her character.
Yeah.
Was it Henry who's the guy from Houston? He did the cracker?
I don't know where he's from, but yeah, he did the cracker.
Yeah. I like that guy's vibe straight up. He seemed like he's like dancing on a different sort of frequency a little bit, which, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I think Vinny's going to do really well.
Definitely setting that up.
I'd really like to see more from Anya.
Yeah. As long as it's not just always the same.
Sure.
The same one every episode.
Yeah.
The same. It's not the same dish. It's not that.
As long as it's not something Russian every single time.
Right. What it is, I don't care if it is, to be honest, if it is Russian every fucking time, I don't care. You can make it Russian every time. That guy, Shuai, he says, with my modern, contemporary Chinese cooking, I think he's cool that everything he does is going to be through that lens.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
I just don't want to hear the story that it's because of my Russian heritage every week.
Right.
I want to hear I need a better tale, you know, like, even if it is, this is my Russian heritage. That's why I cook like this. Or like, give me more. I bet you that old boy Shuai isn't going to say every time, this is my Chinese cooking.
Right.
Is why I'm doing this. He's like, I leaned hard in my, he's going to have a story. He already did it. He was like, you know, he came across really, really nicely, actually, in a way that I really liked. I think Tom asked him, are you surprised that you're up there? And he kind of was like, well, you never know, man. It's like a lot of this stuff that I did was just home cooking and you never know how that's going to be received. It's just grandma stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck yeah, dude. That's the business. Like, if you can make that really great, then for sure. And there's no reason that Anya can't do exactly that same thing with her Russian heritage. It's just, I just want it to be interesting.
Yeah.
And not be like, yeah, it's Russian.
And I think Tristan's going to be one to watch too.
But he's the one that forgot the curry.
Yeah.
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 He obviously has a pretty interesting background. Haley deserved to go home, in a way, just as punishment for her hubris.
Yeah. What made you think risotto was a good idea?
Like, it's one of those things. Like, you should do it. You should totally do it. You should be that person. You should be that chef. You should come in hard and be like, you know what? You know who taught me risotto? Sarah fucking Grunenberg taught me risotto. So I'm going to fucking come to Top Chef and the first thing I'm going to do is make a fucking risotto with carrot juice and it's going to blow your dick holes off. That's totally fine. But you have to actually do it.
Yeah, you have to actually do it.
You have to do it. And if you don't do it, you made not the worst risotto on Top Chef. Gail's like, it's not the worst risotto.
But it's not a good risotto.
But like, that's the worst thing you can hear.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even that bad. It's just, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? But, you know, maybe we can cuddle and watch Star Trek and it'll be different. No, but it's cool. I also am really interested to see where, in the same vein, again, I think she kind of swept under the attention laser, which I guess you could also just say under the radar. But yeah, she swept under the attention laser today is the Korean girl, Korean-American, Koreana. What does she call herself? Korean Americana or something. And it's like, it's cool because she's sort of discovering Korean food almost the same way that I did, you know, like not the same, not with a Korean husband, of course, but like as almost as a non-Korean is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, because she grew up not as a Korean, even though she's Korean, which is whatever weird way to say it, I suppose. But it sort of is, that is what it is. It's like really interesting. So she's discovering something that she's got a connection to, but from a completely different pathway than what a normal experience for that connection would be. And so I think that's really interesting. And and she's also got some hardcore Michelin star experience.
She's she used to work in a three Michelin star kitchen.
Right. So bring those two things together and I wonder if there's some pretty interesting shit that can happen there too. So yeah, it's exciting. Again, I still don't understand why we're in Canada, but cool. We're in Canada. Okay. Well, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the bow on the elimination challenge. You know, that's really where I'm left at the end of the show is I want more. I definitely want more. I want to meet Massimo. I want to find out if he is like actually funny and cool or if he's one of those loud people that gets really boring really quickly, you know, and that's a thing. I bet you he's interesting. Cesar, he has like a really sort of unique vibe about him to do that. And Papillot was really cool. That's like, he's sort of interesting. It's all, I feel like even that girl, the Ecuadorian chick, the girl from Quito, Ecuador, who's in fucking Kentucky riding horses and shit. Like that's got to be an interesting twist up too. Like, so it's got to be good for the whole rest of the season. I'm really excited.
So then we go into Last Chance Kitchen. And surprise, surprise, there are 2 more contestants.
Already 2 more contestants, Canadians, both. Yeah, the weird, big, tall Drake-looking guy. His name
come
I can't...
on, don't do that to him.
He had that, when I think of like a certain type of Canadian, he was like, I can't tell you how excited I'm getting. It's like, yep, you are telling me how excited you're getting. Because you're Canadian. I love that. I lived with that Canadian in Sydney for a while and he was fun as fuck, but just so bland in a certain way that only a Canadian can be.
Okay.
Which again, Please don't hate me, Canadians. I love you all, Canadian scallops. But yeah, so he was interesting. He like had some story about the restaurant that he brought up to Michelin star standard, but then had to close and was on the next journey. So that's all pretty cool. He had some pretty contemporary looking plates out there as his resume.
Yeah, the food looked good.
Yeah. Not half as interesting as the Chinese girl. She was really fun.
She was adorable.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that she dipped because she just couldn't bring it to put, like, again, spoiler alert, but obviously she just couldn't bring it together. She's like, only put one thing. She's like, I am not afraid of this challenge. I'm like, yeah, fucking get it. She's like, I'm not scared for anything. I'm going to make the best dish. I'm like, all right, fuck yeah, let's go. And then she's like, oh no, I'm embarrassed. I forgot a couple things. Like the whole most of the dish.
Well, and then Mimi added a scallop. You have these 3 ingredients that are supposed to be the star of the dish, and you put a scallop right in the middle of the plate.
Yeah, again, she should have gone home. If obviously the game is the game is the game, and whether you say that you're a funny, adorable, interesting, full of character Chinese lady who everybody wants to see more of, unfortunately, sometimes you come last instead of second last, and that means the girl who came second last doesn't go home, even though she did another bad job.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's good for Mimi.
Yeah.
She, again, like, listen, this is the...
She
this
seemed
is the
really surprised that she got to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that statement because I think obviously he was trimming off. He kind of trimmed it. He was like, it seemed like he was almost entertaining trying to keep her on. You know what I mean? He like sort of hesitated, was like, obviously I've got to let you know, it's cute. And she's like, okay, I'm in the right place in America. I'm like, fuck yeah, babe, let's go. But yeah, so look, she'll continue to do it, but I don't want to make the negative prediction, but I feel like from what it looks like from this first episode, there might end up being what's going to send you home is those sorts of performance mistakes, like not getting an elaborate thing done on time. Because I have a feeling that the standard of creativity is probably going to be quite high.
Yeah.
Like, that's the vibes I'm getting, and that's really why I'm so excited about the show, is because I am getting vibes of creativity. I am getting vibes of interesting shit, and I am getting vibes where it's not being able to finish all of your fish that sends you home. Everybody did everything on time. It was all really boring, and that was the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's going to be pretty exciting season for the most part. And I mean, that's part of the reason why I love to watch the show is, you know, watching these chefs come up with these crazy dishes, you know, that I would never in a million years think of.
I love that. I also love them coming up with ideas that I would think of. That makes me feel pretty great too sometimes, where you're like, that's exactly what I would do. That's great. That's smart. And then they like do this, and then they nail it. And then they put like 2 black sesame seeds on it. And you're like, yes, black sesame. Fuck yeah. And it's perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward maybe like to see, do you get the picture that you will see that sort of fairly straightforward classics done really well and a mix of new and interesting interpretive shit almost going head to head?
Sure. Yeah. Because there were several dishes that were just rather simple, classic dishes that were just done perfectly.
Yeah. Like that. I can see that being Vinny's jam, is that he like does everything to do something that's in the Escoffier book, you know, or whatever. But it's like the most perfect version of something, like, and in a way, like using the liquid nitrogen so that you could reach a classic technique quicker and more efficiently. Like that. Yeah.
It was smart. It was really, really smart.
Anyway, yeah, for sure. That's it. Last Chance Kitchen, I suppose, I think is also sending those chefs upwards, which is a thing. I wonder if they'll do 2 drafts, because I think last year they did a midway through the season. That was when they brought the 2 folks back.
Yes.
And then they did another one at the end.
Yeah, where when Kalina got sent back to Last Chance Kitchen, she was like, I'm not going to participate.
Yeah.
For my mental health, which I really respected. I don't think that that's something that's talked about enough, especially in kitchens. And, you know, restaurant kitchens can be very toxic places. because of I mean, it's misfits, you know, who end up working in these kitchens for the most part, people who have alcohol addictions and drug addictions, and, you know, maybe they've had some off-color things happen to them in, you know, the past, and it's a weird little family of crazy people. So the idea of talking about mental health in that context, I think it was really, really smart. And I really, really respect Kalina for making that decision. Yeah, mental health needs to be talked about more.
Agreed. Totally agreed, especially in those sorts of environments. And also the drugs and alcohol, I think, are pretty bad.
Yeah.
There too.
That's
a big one. But yeah, it'll be cool. I'm looking forward. It was nice to, it was nice to see Nicole Gomes and Dale both. They both had a certain likability, and I wonder if they'll be on the show quite a bit. Next, where are we next? What happens next?
I don't know. That's it.
Where is the next? Episode 2, airing March 20, Brunch a la Ballood. I wonder if that has anything to do with Daniel Boulud.
It will.
Is one of my favorite Top Chef judges. I saw him once at a restaurant here in Austin. I was at with my wife, one of my favorite restaurants in Austin, Olame. And there was another Top Chef contestant actually sitting across from us at another table. It was during the Formula One race weekend. I won't name the Top Chef contestant.
Mm-hmm.
It was a female Top Chef contestant who was obviously in town, not from Austin, who was in town for the F1 festivities and at this restaurant. And Daniel Boulud came in with, I'm not sure which team, but came in with a group of guys from one of the race teams, and came and they sat down in like the sectioned off private room. And this particular Top Chef contestant sort of stood up at the table almost in that weird, like half standy way where you hold on. You don't want to stand up fully because you don't want to make a scene. But so you sort of half stand up and hold the table so you don't go in either direction. Uh-huh. And she sort of waved her finger. And she's like, Daniel. And he looked square at her, like dead in the face, as if to say, I know exactly who you are, girl. And then just fucking cold-faced her and walked off with the team. And she was just like, oh, he must not have seen me. Like, to this, like, fuck off. We all saw that. We all saw him. We all saw him not see you. Like,
poor thing.
But it was cold. But I don't know. Somehow that made him cooler.
Anyway. Well, I think we've just about covered everything from episode 1 and from episode 1 of Last Chance Kitchen. It's going to be a really exciting season. But for now, I think hands up, utensils down.
Yeah. Is not top scallop.
Awesome. Bye, Scallops.
Bye, Scallops.